Hello, Gold Derby and Emmy fans, Emmy watchers out there. The Emmy Awards are coming up this weekend, Sunday night, September 19th. We are recording this on September 17th, so just 2 days out from the awards. And we have opinions, as we always do. We're coming off of 1 weekend ago. We had the Creative Arts Awards, where we learned a lot about what could happen this weekend. So we're going to go over some of what that means for the awards coming up. We're going to give a general overview of what we are predicting in top categories, and we are going to talk about some of the changes we've made since the Creative Arts Awards, which are always dangerous, but we do them anyway, because that's just who we are. We live dangerously. I'm Daniel Montgomery, Gold Derby editor, here with my fellow editor, Marcus James Dixon. So let's start with the big picture. The top prizes for drama. Are you still on The Crown? And if so, why?
I am still on The Crown. And, you know, the fact that it won casting, we all kind of suspected that. But it won for Claire Foy, which not a lot of people had. Not because she's not good on that show, but because she was only in it for a couple minutes. It was just a glorified cameo. And the fact that she won that tells you there is love for this show, especially amongst the acting branch, and that the acting branch has the most voters in the Academy. The Crown won 4 total at the Creative Arts. I'm looking at some of the competition. The Mandalorian won 7, but it also won 7 last year at the Creative Arts and then didn't win anything at the prime time. And Pose won 3 at the Creative Arts, which is completely shocking and so well deserved. It was the final season, and clearly the voters loved what they saw. What are some other shows that I'm blanking out? Oh, Handmaid's Tale. That actually didn't win anything at the Creative Arts, and if it continues its bad luck at the prime times, it will actually make a record for the biggest shutout in Emmy history. Previously, it was Mad Men at 17. So yeah, I think The Crown is going to win.
Yeah, that happens sometimes when a show has been on for a few years and the voters still love it enough to nominate it, to the gills, but then it can't break out in any one of those categories. And it did lose in a couple of upsets, The Handmaid's Tale, at the Creative Arts awards that it's won before, that it didn't get this year. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. I too am predicting The Crown. It didn't dominate at Creative Arts, again, 4 wins, but it's never been a huge Creative Arts dominant show. But I think 4 is more than it's won at Creative Arts in the past, plus the casting award, which usually, but doesn't always, foretell best drama series. We've seen exceptions in the past. Stranger Things won casting and then lost drama series to Handmaid's Tale, actually, in the first season of Handmaid's. And I think The Crown might have won it for season 2. I might be wrong about that one, but I think it's won it once before.
You're right. It won for season 2 and didn't win drama series that year. But I feel like this is different. The Crown, even though it aired back in November, people are still talking about it. And, I've said on several other slugfests that I've never been a huge Crown fan, but this season was definitely the best. And I would not be surprised at all if it won. I think we're all pretty much, all of the editors, all the experts are predicting it in a landslide.
Yeah, I think so too. This does feel different from past years. It's interesting. It's been in this weird position where for its first season, it got 13 nominations. Second season, 13 nominations. Third season, 13 nominations. So it's managed to get the exact same number of nominations every year. This year, 24. It exploded. It's gotten more nominations and wins than it ever has had before at the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice Awards. It won Best Drama Series for the first time. And, the SAG Awards, it won Ensemble for the second year in a row. So it's been really peaking everywhere, on a consistent basis. So yeah, I think I've still got that one. I would not rule out something like The Mandalorian just because it's so popular in crafts and because it got acting nominations, multiple acting nominations. It got writing and directing nominations. So if this show were just like a technical kind of achievement, we wouldn't necessarily see it breaking through there, but it did. So don't count it out completely, but I don't think it's going to be this year. Maybe in a year or two.
What do you have in second place? If magic strikes for another show, I have Pose in second. After the Creative Arts, I moved it up. I think Billy Porter's winning. I think MJ has a really strong chance, and it is nominated in directing and writing. So that's my second place.
Yeah, I think it's between, like, I can't remember where I have all those four shows. I think I have Mandalorian in second, just on the strength of those nominations. I think Pose I have in third or fourth. I might have moved Pose up over Handmaids after Creative Arts. The good news, like the caveat for Pose, is that the Creative Arts Emmys it won. It won in contemporary categories. The series previously took place in the 80s, so it was always in period categories against like these heavy hitting, shows like The Crown, for instance, where the period looks on Pose were often subtler. This year, the series finale episode flashed forward to within 25 years of the eligible Emmy year. So it was classified as contemporary, but it still had those same incredible ball looks, and fashion and hairstyling and makeup. So it won those three categories, quadrupling its wins over its run. But I do think Billy Porter's going to win. I'm predicting an upset for writing.
Okay.
For the series finale episode, I'm getting kind of vibes of The Americans and Friday Night Lights, where this show gets a real uptick towards the end of its run in nominations, and voters kind of give it the writing award to say farewell for that finale. Not totally confident there. The Crown could just sweep that one too.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I'm right, then it's going to come away with 5 Emmys for this Emmy year. It will be one of the most awarded dramas of the year. So that would be unusual for a show that's not one of the top 2 for a drama series. But we'll see. Like I think it could do that. MJ could win, so I'm not ruling it out. And it would be like, if something's going to beat The Crown, I feel like that would be such a great, exciting moment at the Emmys, to see Pose, such a groundbreaking show about trans women of color winning Best Drama Series, with trans women among the executive producers who would win for it. So that would be really exciting. One thing
I wanted to add about Pose, Ryan Murphy is so savvy at this Emmy game. He titled the finale series finale. So if a voter sees that on the ballot, they know automatically, oh yeah, that's the last episode. And the fact that he set the finale, he did the flash forward. I wonder if that was just to get into the contemporary categories. I'm not saying that's what he did. I'm just saying it's very convenient that's what he did. And he's so smart at this Emmy game. I think other producers and showrunners need to take a page out of his playbook.
Yeah, right in within the contemporary range, just like, because I think it took place in the late 90s. So it was like 21, 22 years within eligibility.
And I remember he did this for Feud too. He titled one of the episodes a Feud, like a normal title, and then in parentheses he said the Oscar episode. Like that was the name of the episode. So when you're a voter, you can't keep all these episode titles straight. So by saying it was the Oscar episode, they knew immediately, oh, that's the one where they go to the Oscars.
If he really wanted to poke the sentimentality of voters, he should have titled the episode series finale, Goodbye, We'll Miss You, or something like that.
Yeah.
Just
the one where they all die.
The one where they all die. Yeah, that would be their Friends episode title version. So let's move on to comedy, where Ted Lasso came into the Emmys overall with the most nominations, 20, which is the most ever for a first-year show, for a first-year comedy. It's been the front runner for Best Comedy Series since before the nominations were announced. The epic nominations haul that it got just kind of cemented that. It's not the most grandly technical show, so the fact that it only won 3 Creative Arts Awards isn't really a big deal. Last year Schitt's Creek only won 1 Creative Arts Award. So
I think it won 2.
Did it
won casting and costumes.
No, yeah, I think you're right, because it won on the night 7, so it won a total of 9. So it did win 2 in Creative Arts, and then it won every every single comedy category during the main telecast. So it's not really a big deal that Ted Lasso didn't win more than 3. It did win casting, which is the huge one for the Creative Arts Awards in terms of, as we mentioned, predicting the series winner. So are you still predicting Ted Lasso to win? Is this just one and done, let's move on category?
Yeah, this show is just so beloved. I'll have people reach out to me from high school, and when I post something on Facebook about Ted Lasso, they send me a private comment. I love that show. It just fills my heart with joy. And that's the thing. It's the heartwarming show. It's the show you want to hug. And of course, Apple's so smart that they aired season 2 during voting. So it was airing as the voters were thinking, who should I vote for? And you're right, it won 3 Creative Arts. That's really good for a comedy. I feel like comedies kind of get the shaft at Creative Arts sometimes. It's always the limited series or the dramas that are set in the past or set in Game of Thrones time that win a lot of these. But in second place, I have Hacks. And I do feel a love for Hacks, but I feel like it's not as big as Ted Lasso.
Yeah, I've got Hacks in second. I have it in a distant second also because, I don't think it won anything at Creative Arts. Again, another show that's you're not really expecting it to, but when Ted Lasso wins 3 and it's coming in as such a strong front runner, if you're going to see an upset, you're going to look for where that could happen. And we haven't seen that happen for any non-Ted Lasso show, like The Flight Attendant only one award at Creative Arts. So I don't see an upset happening here. I think Ted Lasso is just going to kind of take this in a walk, and Hacks is going to take actress. I think most people are agreed on that. I think it has a strong chance at writing because Ted Lasso has a couple of episodes that could split there, and Hacks is set in the world of show business among comedy writers. And we've seen that with like the Showtime series episodes where they wouldn't win, but they would consistently get nominations for best comedy writing and not really much attention anywhere else. And it was because the show is literally about comedy writers for television. So it had sort of its foot in the door already. So Hacks could benefit from that, and it could sort of upset for writing. But yeah, I think Ted Lasso has got that.
There is so many vote split potentials here because Ted Lasso has 3 directing and 2 writing. I have the Ted Lasso pilot winning writing, but I heard the other day one of our coworkers was predicting Make Rebecca Great Again for writing. And if it was me, if I was a voter, I would pick Make Rebecca Great Again. That was my favorite episode of season 1. So I wonder if we're right that Ted Lasso is winning, but we're wrong on the episode. And then for directing, I don't know which of these they're going to go for. It's kind of the same thing. There's some people are fans of one, some people are fans of another. So I'm just going to count it out, say they're all vote splitting each other, and I'm going with The Flight Attendant. And another thing to remember, at the Directors Guild, there were multiple Ted Lasso episodes, I think just 2, but they canceled each other out, and The Flight Attendant won there. And it's a lot of the same voters that vote for the Directors Guild Award and this specific Emmy directing category. So there is some overlap there. So that's another reason I'm going with The Flight Attendant.
Yeah, after Ted Lasso won single camera picture editing at the Creative Arts Awards, where it had the potential to vote split, it was up against The Hope That Kills You was up against Make Rebecca Great Again. Hope That Kills You won. I decided, this may mean that Ted Lasso can overcome a vote split in sort of a technical category, in a category that reflects a lot of directing choices. So maybe The Hope That Kills You will win the Emmy for directing as well. And then Marcus, you told me that these 2 episodes of Ted Lasso were up for the DGA Award too, and Flight Attendant beat both of those. So I think it's one of those 2, probably, but I'm not really confident one way or the other. Again, so much vote splitting, but vote splitting for shows that could win anyway because there's so much support for them, so much love for them in the Academy. So it's hard to tell, but pretty sure Ted Lasso is going to win comedy series and comedy actor, the only 2 categories where it can't split its own vote. It's got only one. It's not up against the second Ted Lasso comedy. series. So let's talk about movies and limited series, which is kind of the big story from Creative Arts. Queen's Gambit, which we thought would do well, was highly competitive for Best Limited Series, and now looks almost like a lock to win Best Limited Series because it won 9 Creative Arts Awards. It upset shows like The Crown and Bridgerton for costumes. It upset WandaVision in technical categories for sound editing and sound mixing. Like this show just kind of annihilated everyone, and it won the Pivotal Casting Award, which we've talked about a couple times. So I was predicting WandaVision before Creative Arts just because it had so many nominations across writing, directing, crafts, acting. Now I've left WandaVision in the dust. No offense, WandaVision. I think it's Queen's Gambit, like in a cakewalk. What do you think about that category, and how many others do you think it'll win, if any, on Sunday night?
I made quite a few changes after the Creative Arts, specifically in these movie limited categories. So you had WandaVision before, I had Mare of Easttown before. And it's hard to ignore 9 Creative Arts Emmys going to Queen's Gambit. There is love across all of the branches, including the pivotal casting, as we keep mentioning. So yeah, I moved that into first place for limited. I moved Anya Taylor-Joy into first place for actress.
As did I.
And that one kills me because Kate Winslet deserves the Emmy for that, but Anya was also really, really good too. I also moved Queen's Gambit into directing. I had WandaVision there because of the whole spectacle of it, but now I'm thinking, how can a show win all of those Creative Arts technical prizes and then not give it to the director? And also, what else did I change? Oh, I changed another one, which is not related, but I changed, I had Paul Bettany winning, but after WandaVision kind of underperformed at the Creative Arts, I put him down into third place, and I moved Ewan McGregor up. And I know a lot of people are going to be surprised by that, but Halston did get 5 total nominations. So there is kind of this across the board support for the show, even though it missed out on writing, it missed out on directing, and it missed out on limited series. It did get 5 total noms. And, Ewan McGregor is a movie star. He also does the physical transformation that these voters love. And so yeah, that's my one category where I'm kind of going against the grain and not going with what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, I changed a lot too. I moved Queen's Gambit into number 1. I moved Anya Taylor-Joy to number 1. I moved, I had Queen's Gambit for directing. I kept it there. I moved Queen's Gambit to second place for writing. I'm still thinking they're going to want to give Michaela Cole something for I May Destroy You. So I've got it winning there. And and I did move. I had Paul Bettany, and I too took him out, but I put in a different person. I put in Hugh Grant, sort of by default. It's a really showy performance. It only has 1 other nomination, but like this category is so weird. Mark Ruffalo won it last year on the only nomination for I Know This Much Is True, so it's not a deal breaker, and it's a showy performance. He lost this category just a couple of years ago for A Very English Scandal, where he was playing a similarly against type kind of like shady villainous role. I'm not confident. I wrote an article recently saying there are pros and cons in equal measure for all 5 of those nominees. It's literally the only category I think where there is no front runner and there would be no upset because literally any of them could win.
I agree. And Hugh Grant, I mean, he's so overdue for some big recognition, and I have him in second place. I just feel like that show should have gotten in other places where it didn't get in.
Yeah, especially like it's a contemporary show, but it's also like it's set among like the richest of the rich people in New York City. It should have gotten in for like maybe costumes or editing, or because it's a thriller, or cinematography, like something somewhere, and it didn't.
Or Donald Sutherland should have gotten.
Or Donald Sutherland too for supporting actor should have probably gotten one of those slots that went to like one of the 14 Hamilton nominees, which is another thing in this category. You've got 7 nominations for acting alone for Hamilton, more than any other movie or limited series for acting. So, like, do they love it that much? Is it going to go to Lin-Manuel Miranda? Is it going to go to Leslie Odom as a repeat of his Tony? Or are they going to not want to give it anything for acting because the show is already, these exact same performances were already judged and awarded or nominated at the Tonys? And maybe Emmy voters feel like, you know what, it's a bridge too far. Let's not give you Emmys on top of your Tonys.
The one Hamilton person I have the highest in my rankings is Daveed Diggs. I have him in second. So I think that's the one category where we could see Hamilton person win. I have Evan Peters at number 1 right now. But I'm hearing a lot of love for Thomas Brody Sangster for Queen's Gambit.
Yeah, that's a strong possibility. That's another category where I wouldn't say there would be no upset, because I genuinely don't think that, no offense to Jonathan Groff or Anthony Ramos, I feel like all the Hamilton votes would go to Daveed Diggs. Like I don't see that them taking votes away from him. But I do think the other 4 could win it. I think I had Daveed in first place for the longest time. I've recently moved him out and put Evan Peters in first place, even though I think Mare of Easttown is kind of slipping in terms of its Emmy profile. It's feeling very Mrs. America to me right now, where it came in thinking this is the star vehicle, Oscar-winning star, and then it sort of underperforms, but still gets a supporting award because Mrs. America won for Uzo Aduba, and this could win for Evan Peters.
It really disappointed at Creative Arts. It was up for 9 Creative Arts and only 1 production design. And, is that because it's not beloved, or is that just because they liked Queen's Gambit a little bit more? Like, I would love to see the vote totals.
Yeah.
How close did it come to winning or losing some of these?
The interesting thing about Mare of Easttown is that, like, it's also not a flashy show visually at all. It's a contemporary show. It's sort of, gritty, realistic kind of small town thing. It's not going to be a huge factor in things like costume or makeup and hair or sound and all that sort of stuff. The production design win, it was actually kind of a surprise. So I wouldn't necessarily think that not doing well at Creative Arts would matter much, except for casting. Casting was a big one, and just the epic over performance of Queen's Gambit in general makes me think that it's just kind of eclipsing the rest of the field. But we don't know what the actors branch really thinks of it. So, because the branches that voted for most of the creative arts categories aren't involved in voting for the acting categories, except for the casting branch voters who are voting for acting. So that's another side for maybe Thomas Brody Sangster. It could go any number of ways. I think it's probably one of those 3. Thomas, although I think I have Thomas in third. I think it's really a duel between Daveed and Evan Peters.
And are you one of the people who have switched to the Bo Burnham special for what's the category?
For variety special pre-recorded?
Yes.
I am taking a shot at that, yes.
I still have Hamilton, but a lot of people are switching, and I don't think I'm going to copy that. I'm going to stick with Hamilton.
You might be smart. Like, a lot of times I talk myself into, because we Emmy, prognosticators and bloggers and all that sort of stuff, when we write about these, we think about that a lot more than your average voter is when they're looking at their ballot. They're saying, I like this, check. We're thinking, will they like this? Here are 500 words on why they might or might not. So we are sometimes at risk of overthinking an obvious conclusion. But in this case, Bo Burnham won, none of his wins were too surprising. He won music direction, not a huge surprise. It's a musical. He won writing, not a surprise. A lot of really acclaimed stand-up specials have won that, stand-up and comedy specials. This is not technically a stand-up special. But he won directing too, which I think he was the front runner in our odds, but I wasn't predicting him because he was up against Spike Lee for American Utopia, which was hugely acclaimed and had a huge like fan base. Um, so like he was up against like Thomas Schlamme for the West Wing reunion, he was up against the Friends reunion. Like there's so much in that category for Bo Burnham to win that. Like there's just so much love. It kind of reminds me of how he won like the Writers Guild Award for 8th grade and the Directors Guild Award for Best First Time Filmmaker for 8th grade, beating a bunch of Oscar nominees. Like there's just so much industry love for him that I think that might go there. I feel like Hamilton has not been there, done that, but like the Tonys had been there and done that. It aired more than a year ago.
Right.
Like they obviously liked it enough to nominate it 50 bajillion times, but it only won once at Creative Arts. It lost for sound, which you would think a musical would do really well at. I believe American Utopia actually won one of those sound awards. So I don't know that there's as much enthusiasm anymore for it, but I don't know. I could be overthinking this one.
Another thing I wanted to mention, in case people don't know, is RuPaul won Emmy number 10 at the Creative Arts. So RuPaul is now tied for the most Emmy wins by a Black entertainer and Black person in the industry. If RuPaul's Drag Race wins Best Competition Program on Sunday night, which everyone and their mother thinks it will happen, that would be a record-breaking win. And I can't wait to see RuPaul's speech, because you know that RuPaul knows that she's about to do this. And I hope she's preparing something to say.
Yeah, that was that was a big deal over the weekend. Not only that RuPaul won twice, but that the person whose record RuPaul tied was nominated this year. It was a cinematographer, Donald A. Morgan, who works in multi-camera sitcoms. He was nominated 3 times for Best Multi-Camera Cinematography, and he lost to one of the only 2 nominees in that category who weren't him. So he's still at 10. RuPaul won reality host for the 37th time in a row.
6th time.
6th time in a row. And for the first time, best unstructured reality program for RuPaul's Drag Race Untucked as a producer of that. That show had lost to W. Kamau Bell's United Shades of America for like the last 3 years, but that show, United Shades of America, was moved into a different category this year. There's always some shuffling going on. So that show this year was Best Hosted Nonfiction Program. So that got it out of the way. So RuPaul was able to win that. That was 9, that was 10. And there's no reason to believe it won't win competition series again. The show did very well at Creative Arts, as it often does. So yeah, it looks like RuPaul's winning number 11 and will set a record. And I hope there is some recognition of that in the moment, though not something awkward like Trevor Noah stopping Beyonce off the stage at the Grammys to say, hey, you're now the most awarded woman in the history of the Grammys. Sorry, we've never given you Record of the Year or Album of the Year, despite multiple times you should have gotten it.
That was just awkward.
Yeah, hopefully Cedric the Entertainer is not standing off stage when RuPaul accepts that, going like, did you know you just did this? Because
how do you think Cedric will do? I'm gonna do a poll on, rate his monologue. I'm curious because he's never hosted the Emmys before. It's always fun to see a first-time host. We're so used to seeing Jimmy Kimmel do it over and over, and all the talk show hosts usually are the ones that do it.
I think he'll do well. I think, he's a comedian, and he's a really lively comedian. He'll be able to work a room. He works in television. He's got a sitcom on, and so I feel like he'll have that interaction with the audience really down. I do think it's kind of incredibly low stakes because the last couple of years with COVID and just the TV industry being in such flux, like I don't expect there to be a large viewership for this, and I don't expect people are going to be, waiting with bated breath to see how Cedric the Entertainer does. I think he can do a really good job and kind of skate past it and not have to worry. Like I think he'll be good, and then probably people will probably not sadly be talking about the ceremony for better or worse a week later. Yeah, genuinely.
Mm-hmm. Another big moment will be if Michael K. Williams wins. I think one of his family members, is maybe his nephew, is going to accept on his behalf. I think that would be a really touching, emotional moment. Michael K., he's been nominated a lot, and it would just be so, well, so I would love it. My heart would warm if he won.
Yeah, I would love to see that too. I've been what's interesting, and it can be kind of, it feels kind of morbid to talk about like awards chances with someone who passed away so tragically and so suddenly. But it does present an interesting situation where a lot of people watching the show might think if he wins that he's being rewarded posthumously, which yes, the trophy would be bestowed on him posthumously, but voting actually finished before he died. So like win or lose, it will not have anything to do with his death. No, like it won't be, it won't be a Chadwick Boseman situation where voters know he's no longer with us by the time they're voting. So that's a really tough category. No Black actor has ever won that category. It's the only category at the Emmys that has still never been won by a Black actor. So it would be historic either way. I'm encouraged that Courtney B. Vance won for Lovecraft Country at the Creative Arts Awards, upsetting Charles Dance for The Crown. So I do think that's a bit of a boon for Michael K. Williams' chances. It is really disappointing that he won't be there to celebrate it himself, especially after years of good work. I like, because he's been nominated at the Emmy so many times, I've had the opportunity to interview him multiple times, and he's just so giving in terms of his work, and in terms of how he talks about it, or how he talked about it. So I very much love to see that happen.
On that sad note,
it'll be a bittersweet note if he wins. It'll be a really wonderful celebration of his life and career and the great work he left us with, but also sad that we won't get more of it.
Yeah.
But on that note, we will see if we're right or wrong. Well, we have different opinions on different categories, so we could be right and wrong.
I'm going to be right.
I see, like I would be cocky just for fun, but no, I'm not even going to bother. I'm just going to be wrong a lot. I'm sure. I'm already resigned to it, especially at the Emmys. That happens constantly. At Creative Arts, there were like 4 or 5 different categories where our last place contender in our odds won. So like, when you cover the Emmys for this long, humility becomes a very healthy experience that you develop. But one of you watching this may very well beat us in the predictions contest, which usually happens. So we will see what happens on Sunday night. We will find out together. And thank you very much, Marcus, for joining me to talk about the Emmys. And thank you to everyone for watching. We will see you and talk about this after the show.